Hello, family. You are welcome to today's podcast session. Today, I have an amazing guest joining us all the way from Zambia. But before I allow her speak, today we are going to be talking about global postal stories. Some of you watched my last episode where I shared my experience about my trip to Cape Verde. It was a whole lot of experience, and I put it together in about 30 to 40 minutes. If you have not seen that, please go and watch that video. And if you're just coming across this channel, this is Coach Temi podcast where we share business, position ourselves for global relevance. And we bring very incredible guests like one of the ones we are seeing right now on my screen. So I have the honor of having today Lydia. She's the Postal Master General and CEO of Zambia Postal Service Corporation. We met at Cape Verde. So, with over 22 years of professional experience and more than 15 years in senior leadership, she has built a strong reputation in finance, governance, and risk management, and also institutional transformation. She also founded and she's also the CEO of Metric Risk Solutions and serves as several boards across the public and private sector. Lydia has been widely recognized for her leadership and was recently featured among most influential women to watch in 2026 for her role in repositioning Zampost. By the way, I did a little research about Zampost and I feel yeah, a lot is going on around that. I wish we had very deep conversation about Zampost when we were in Cape Town, but of course, this podcast has availed us that opportunity to do that. So, welcome
Yes, it
with
has.
me, Lydia. Seriously, I am careful of pronouncing your second name because I know my mother the name.
Your mother tongue is betraying you.
Exactly. So if you help me call it, I can master it before the end of this session.
No,
So
Lydia is okay.
Lydia,
Don't mind.
okay, I'll save me for that stress. All right, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So by the way, for those that are just coming across this, because I know most of the people that will be watching this session will be young people like me. You know the conversation we had at Cape Verde. We don't really know that
I
this is postal
know.
service. Yes,
Never been to a
so
post
most
office.
people exactly. So when I posted this, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Wait, what's happening? What's postal service?" I mean, people. I said, "Yes, yes, that's the word." That when I came back, I started looking. Okay, how can I really help position postal service? And when the person saw it and
Yeah.
was like, "Are you doing this?" I said, "Don't worry, you can just go and hear the conversation." But people don't know that a lot of transformation, especially digital transformation,
It's
is going
happening.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
in different countries, yeah, at the same time. So tell us,
Yeah.
give us a background about examples.
So basically, Zampost is the designated operator for postal services in Zambia. So we participate like any other players in Korea. But when it comes to postal services that give universal access for everyone who wants to communicate and to send something at a reasonable cost, we are that player. So
Hmm.
Zampost was founded in 94. It was separated from the postal telecommunications communications, which was like PTC, right? Literally separating the postal aspect from the telco aspect. And I know we did have a conversation around this in Cape Verde. So that
Yeah.
separation then meant that we ran on the postal services and any other attended services according to the Act. So we're designated by an Act 2000 that was put in place 2009, which gives us the mandate to offer financial services, courier services, as well as postal services. So yeah, that's basically about Zampost, and I'm in this position for 6 months, and we're running very fast with the transformation agenda that is supposed to deliver lots of benefits to the citizens and make the postal service relevant even to youths like you.
Very
Yeah,
key. That was very key. So when so allow me. I'll just be myself on this podcast.
I
When you
know.
joined, what were the major challenges you met? You said you joined just 6 months ago. What were the major challenges you met?
So to put in correct perspective, I joined in 2023. So I joined as CFO.
Okay.
First of all, it was for me, it was a culture shock. I'm coming from private sector. So the pace at which we do things is different, the culture and everything. So I joined a very traditional sort of setup with processes somewhat bureaucratic. But then I had a mandate to fulfill. Financials were behind, we had to catch up. And I'm proud to say that we have caught up and we now have a baseline, an audited baseline, based on which we can engage our partners to come on board and see how we can transform Zampos together. But transitioning from the role of CFO to CEO, I think my role really has been to build on what you have been working on, but to bring in a certain sort of discipline to execution, like you would find in the private sector, where accountability is key, where we hold each other accountable. We have candid conversations around what works and what cannot work, and the culture that we need to embrace. So, if we are to position Zampost as a relevant player in this digital economy, I mean, there's a lot of need to strengthen our operational discipline. You cannot serve a digital minded customer with an analog mindset that was used to just sort out letters and send to the correct destination, because now we're dealing with a whole different set of clients, so the expectations are different, and now it's about us challenging ourselves to transform into that customer centric and digitally relevant postal service that is still going to interface with the customers, and the customers are still going to have a reason to interact with us or to come to the post office. I think this is the whole gist of this conversation today. So we're on the transformation journey, and I think that the future looks really bright.
Okay, I believe so. With what ensured at Cape Verde, I believe there is a future for postal service. When I came, when I came to Cape Verde, I already closed my mind that okay, well, I'll just have fun and just go back. But while I was leaving, I realized that there's a lot going on that we don't know about, and I think that visibility is what is very needed because if a lot is going on in the background and the people who want to serve do not know about it, then how do we really want to serve the people? I also got to know that Zampos now provide internet service for people in the rural area. I want you to speak to that, and I want you to speak to the relevance of providing internet service. So that add up to the goal, the end goal of examples.
Yes, so we do have a service level agreement with the Smart Zambia Institute, which is an organization that is at the core of really digitizing government services and modernizing government infrastructure in terms of just internet connectivity and everything that has to do with being digital. So, based off that partnership, we have powered all our service points with Starlink. So, in the most rural place in Zambia, you will find that perhaps places like Vubi, I know you won't know, perhaps when you have an opportunity to visit Zambia, you could go to Vubi. You will find that the post office is that one beacon of hope that has internet connectivity. That means
Wow.
even a youth who has been learning in that rural setup now has the opportunity to go to the post office, find a space, and be on the internet and find the opportunities as if they were in the urban area. So, what that does is that it's improving government service delivery, equal opportunities for all, digital inclusion, financial inclusion, because now they can transact like any other person simply because they have that internet connectivity. So the idea of the urban, you know, drift where everybody else wants to come to the urban area because of the limitations that the rural areas have in terms of internet connectivity and other opportunities, then that sort of becomes lessened. So that is how we've positioned Zampos as that digital inclusion champion for the rural areas. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Um, I don't know how or how much fintech take in Zambia. I mean, the portion of their revenue base and how much market they have. So compared to what Zampos has, do you think Zampos should compete with the private sector, or how do you think Zampos should position ourselves for market share?
So my approach has not been that of competition, but really to say we are the enablers because there's a specific advantage that we have that our sort of competitors wouldn't have. For example, we want to
Please
leverage
tell us.
our huge network, whereas small postal operators, well, courier services will operate along the line of rail. We are everywhere. And so when you talk about parcel delivery and delivery services in general, you will find that there's a place where our competitors will end. And we take it from there and take to the rest of the places where they do not have presence. So when you talk about fintech and all that, we are really on a run to have to be that community service hub because of the the tech deployment that we are doing. I'll quickly talk about the Citizen One platform, which is going to really just sort out a big problem of financial inclusion in this country. And I know that this is a problem across Africa, where those that are in rural areas are excluded from key fundamental services like banking. But with
Yeah.
Citizen One platform, we have partnered with an amazing partner that has brought in this multi-tenanted platform where banks, microfinance institutions, insurance service providers come on that platform. And because we are hosting it in the post office, anyone can go to the post office and find the service provider of choice.
Oh, wow.
So, what that does is that nobody should panic because they're in a rural area and they will not access their bank. They'll come to the post office and they should be able to at least access a number of services that, if it was not for that tech deployment, they would have had to travel a long distance to find those services. And these include things like cash in and cash out, things like KYC, loan origination, and a whole suite of services. So that sort of tech deployment and fintech advancement helps us to position ourselves as the community service hub because
Okay.
suddenly you can spare a lot of time by just coming to the post office, accessing the services, and going back to what you do best, to your, industrious activities and growing the economy and contributing in the way that you always contribute, than being on a long trip to the next place where a service should be provided, leaving post offices behind that are now, you know, saving you and saving you that time and making the citizens more productive than they were before. So for me, that's the way I look at it. It's not an issue of competition, but really leveraging our network to be the enablers of better service delivery, to be the enablers of digital inclusion, to be the enablers of financial inclusion.
Okay. Okay. So um, I want to ask. That means
Yeah.
the major strength is enabling the, shall I say, private sector, and also, so are you sure that these people in the rural area are aware that postal service now serves these purposes? Because I feel they are new. I mean, this innovation just started or recent. So these people you are serving, the people in the rural area, are they aware that postal service now serves these purposes, and are they taking advantage of it?
How do I explain this in the simplest way possible? So remember, this is a journey. Of course, there's a lot of scope for more sensitization around this. But in places where the post office is probably the most elaborate place to find these services, By virtue of that need, the rural people in the rural areas are aware. The sensitization actually is important even for people in the urban areas. Remember, we're not just in the rural areas, even in the urban areas. Banks sometimes can be congested. So, finding these services in the post office decongests. And remember, it's not just banking services, we are integrated to the government service bus. Zambia is on a journey to digitization, and there are more than 300 services on the government service bus, which is the government e portal, where citizens can go. But remember, because the way information reaches out is not at at the pace you would love it to reach. With the
Yeah.
sensitization that we're doing, that post offices are now digital transformation centers. More and more citizens can come to the post office and serve themselves the queues. So we're
Okay.
decongesting government offices and giving citizens a choice and an alternative for where they can access these services. And we're in discussions with various and many government departments and ministries to say, how can we firm this up? How can we jointly sensitize the public and the citizens to know that the post office is now that place you can go to in case there's no internet connectivity at a government office for some
Yeah.
reason. They can come to Zampos, they can come to the post office and find that the service is up and running because our uptime is quite high. Remember, we're investing in resilience, even on our cybersecurity and posture and things like that. So basically, it's both in the rural areas and in the urban areas. Another important point I think that I need to drive when we talk about the rural areas. Remember, every rural place has that enterprising person around the corner, that champion. With what we
Yeah.
are doing around the e-commerce and developing an e-commerce platform, that person in the rural area has an opportunity to now put their merchandise on the platform, and suddenly they have a huge market. And guess who's going to transport and deliver this merchandise? It's
Example.
Zampos. It's the post office. Yes. So we are moving from letters to parcels and to merchandise. So giving hope and enabling SME, you know, businesses to grow and scale simply because of the deployment of this technology that allows them to grow. And we always talk about how our brothers and sisters in the diaspora normally miss indigenous, and traditional delicacies. I don't know what
Yes.
traditional
Exactly.
delicacies you have in Nigeria, but in Zambia we have things like ifi nkobala, you know, and when you go to the States, those things are not there. But encouraging and incubating small business people to be able to aggregate and to be able to be on an e-commerce platform, and they can sell their Ifinkobala even to people that are abroad. And remember, Zampos does not operate in isolation. We belong to the Universal Postal Union, which is a network of other postal operators across the globe that enables us to work together and deliver anything from Zambia to the world. So that is another way that we're trying to, develop this market and make sure that nobody is left behind. The same opportunities for growth that are given to entrepreneurs in the urban areas must be extended to the rural areas. And Zampos plays that important role of inclusivity in that space. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. So while you were talking, I was just thinking about the presentation I made back in Cape Verde, and I think I really majored on this, not even knowing we didn't have this deep discussion then. I only had discussion with Zimbabwe Post. I just want to ask that how supportive is government concerning this new innovation? So I know that there's an idea that government sometimes are slow to take initiative. Sometimes there's so many loopholes, there's so many people that are probably benefiting from the previous way of doing things. So now bringing in technology, in a way, you cut those people away, and some of them, if they are already their livelihood, they built their life on it. So how are you able to still continue with this innovation, knowing that some people will be cut off because they will not probably, um, you know, improve themselves to take advantage of. I want you to speak to that. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I think I lost connectivity there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So I'll repeat
Okay,
myself.
just please
I
go
was
ahead.
that, sometimes government could be very slow in taking initiatives. Sometimes it takes a long time to
Yeah.
approve plans, projects, and all that. And some people that have been there for a long time, they've built their life on previous system. Some of them, that is how they earn. Now, bringing innovation would could cut them off because they are not improving themselves. Now you are bringing new technology, you have to onboard new people, bringing young people that can do the work. How is this transitioning affecting perhaps the people that have been there before and government support?
So let me begin with government support. I think we enjoy a lot of government support, especially in the recent past. I think what government needs from postal operators is clarity. Clarity in terms of
Oh,
strategic direction. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you very well.
Yeah. So clarity in terms of strategic direction. So during this transition from a traditional mail, you know, service and the declining mails, there's been a lot of inherently postal operators have slid into that place where they are crying for more grant funding because the revenue base is shrinking. But government is not interested in a crybaby mentality. Government is
Hmm.
interested in clarity of direction in terms of how are you repositioning yourself and reimagining yourself in this digital era. And so our engagements with government, especially for Zambia Post, has yielded a lot of fruit. Remember, I told you we've partnered with Smart Zambia Institute, and this is where we're getting our internet connectivity. This
Okay.
is because it's clear where Zampos is going. Our digitalization and transformation agenda is anchored on things that make us relevant to government and even to the citizens. When we talk about financial inclusion and digital inclusion, we know that government right now is big on digital, public infrastructure, you know. But for every digital deployment, every technology deployment, there's take on the front end, but I always say there's a physical back end. For every e-commerce sale, Tevi, there will be that physical intervention where we need to deliver. And this is where postal operators can plug in. Instead of crying for more grant funding, we can plug in and say, we are the last mile champion. Every tech deployment sort of still has some sort of, physical interface that has to happen. And this is where the post comes in. Remember, digital technology will not be, the uptake is not at the same level. There are people that will be behind. And this is where our people need to transform from people that just handled mail and letters to digital consultants. So if a citizen walks in and says, "Oh, I heard that the post office now it has access, I can have access to government services through the post office. How can I do that? I want to pay for my license. How can I do that?" That person who used to receive the letter over the counter and sort it and take it to the back office now has to transform into a digital consultant who says, "Oh, come on here, see this screen? This is the e-government portal. This is how you can log in. This is how you can register your account on Zampas. Please enter your password. Please do this and that." That way, we are reducing the digital divide and we are becoming people that are enabling people to grow in terms of their tech savviness, so that next time perhaps they do not need to come to the post office, but they can on their own navigate the internet, go to Zampas and access that service. So basically, when it comes to government and how whether they're supportive, I think we've aligned very well.
Yeah.
Right now, the Zambian government is running with a decentralization. Guess what the most decentralized institution is? It's the post office.
Okay.
Presence all over the place.
Wow.
So when it comes to accessing services, even when we go to the issue of digital IDs, Zampos to be that place where citizens can go for their biometric, for the for all the registrations, for the KYC, and all that, because we're the most decentralized. So we are basically aligning ourselves to the government agenda, well, keeping the
I was,
pace of digitization so that we remain relevant.
okay, but I'm not sure this conversation held in Cape Verde. Why didn't you mention all this during the forum? Because in our mind, especially first day, we were looking. It was looking like I can't explain how I was feeling. I was like, really, why is everybody backward? But from what you have said, I think this goes back to the issue of visibility. Because I felt that two things that were missing were education and visibility. Because if all these were going on and we don't know about it, we can still reckon. With everything you have said, is more or less like a private sector with the kind of digitalization, the kind of development that is going on at the very fast pace. I mean, it's something to reckon with. And if sometimes even in urban area we have bad networks, and if the environment, for example, the postal office we went to in Cape Verde, I mean, it was a very good facility, and so many things were already digitalized. So I still think that. So I want to ask. So how do you ensure that more people know about what is going on in Zampos? Are there challenges? What's the plan for making sure that every single person, especially youth, will know about what is going on in Zampos?
Thanks, Demi. So for me, it's baby steps, right? And I know you go back to Cape Verde and you know the difficult conversations that we had. So if you noticed, I think that I had a chance to be on a panel of discussion. We were talking about e-commerce, and I think I stressed the point. If you were in that session, Tammy, that can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Tammy, are
you
you
very
there?
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
So I stressed the point that in terms of repositioning ourselves, it's about what problem are we solving. I don't know if you remember that part of my discussion when I was on the panel of discussion. We must be providing, deploying technology that actually solves problems. And this is where, when it comes to e-commerce, e-commerce solves the problem of SMEs failure to scale and grow. It solves the problem of citizens being scammed. So I think I stressed these points, except, I mean, how many were we, postal leaders across Africa, some of whom are not adapting to technology, I must say, at the rate at which we must. And I think it was evident in the backlash that you guys got when you were presenting and everything that, oh, youths just don't want to know about the post. And that is granted. So we have we have postal leaders still a little bit analog, but trying to get there. And then there are also postal leaders, and I think this is where I want to belong, who know that we have no choice but to transform into digital and logistics powerhouse and enablers for government
Yeah.
to be able to know that through the postal network, we have a logistical backbone for service delivery. And I think in terms of getting people to know, media campaigns and sometimes awareness campaigns can be expensive. And when you're running a postal operation that is struggling from legacy issues like any other postal operator, it's difficult. But what we have done is that we want to maximize on our social media presence. So if you go to TikTok and search some post, you will find us there. And
Oh,
why
really?
TikTok? Yes, we have a TikTok account.
I love that. I love that. That's a proof.
So the idea is to say
But
that
are
Zampos
you
is not
dancing on
just for.
TikTok? Are you dancing on TikTok? You have to be dancing on TikTok.
Wait, Wait, very soon. Well, very soon we'll do a dancing challenge for Zampos. We have a Zampos
Good,
jingle. So we'll do a dancing
good.
challenge. We want it to go viral and I'll send you the link. But here's the point. We want to use of course, both above the line and below the line sort of advertising. But we think that social media, everybody spends time on social media, and TikTok is that avenue that is going to make us tap into the youth, tap into the Gen Zs, make them know we have we are currently, you know, piloting Zampos Express app, which is a pick and drop app. It's an amazing app. Temi is AI powered route optimization pick and drop app. So from the comfort of your home, you'll be able to request for a pickup of a parcel and will come through, and you will be able to track it in real time until it is delivered. So we can't wait to scale this up. Right now, it's being piloted in the capital city, but we're taking it all over the country because, I mean, that is our strength, being everywhere. So we don't want to disadvantage anyone. So we want that app to be on everybody's phone, the youths, because remember the fact that you guys don't want to move away from the house. You're stuck to your gadgets and to your phones, and you're just there. So because we understand that, this is why we're bringing the post office on your phone so that you can simply just request us to come through. And Citizen One app will also be on there will also be an app so that if you really don't have to move, but you can start something. You can use Citizen One to get to your bank, to get to your insurance, to get to whichever financial service that you want to. So we want the post office to be relevant to people that can go to the post office physically and people that are just seated at home. That is the only way we're going to be a sustainable operation. Without this sort of transformation, it goes without say that we'll go into oblivion.
Yeah, very true. I love the innovation. Perhaps I should ask because one of the major challenges is that for private sector, speed, they have speed. And I want you to speak to that. How are you making sure that you are not just, these technologies are not just there, but there is also speed to it? I want to send a package out of Zambia to Nigeria. I want to be sure that, aside the fact that I can track real time, I want you to get to Nigeria as fast as possible. Now, I also want you to speak to the fact that, is there a way to fast track things? For private sector, they have, maybe you can send through ship, you can do express. Some can even do within 24 hours. They can prioritize just as you pay more. And for some of us, sometimes if the message or the package is important to us, we don't mind spending more just to get it across to the
Yeah.
person. I want you to speak to that.
Yeah. So at Zampost, we have a service called Express Mail Service. This is EMS. EMS is actually a service, it's an arm of the Universal Postal Union. We have standards, Temi. So EMS in country is supposed to do like same day delivery along the, you know, line of rail, which is basically your provincial centers. If it's going to the outskirts, the standard is 72 hours, so 3 days. And across the world, the standard is 5 days. How is this made possible? We have partnerships with airlines. So we are partners with Ethiopian Airlines, we are partners with KQ, we are partners with Emirates. So based on these partnerships, it's an issue of aggregating what is going where and taking to the necessary airline that is actually, operating a route to the place where the parcels are going. So we've extended this partnership to ground handlers at airports, and we want to now actually start training our own people to be able to do this service so that we do not have third party risk. Because sometimes what partnerships do is that if your partner slackens in their service delivery, it affects the whole chain. So we want to empower our people to be able to have control from the time the parcel lands at the airport up to the time when we actually deliver it. So the guarantee and the speed is in the fact that we actually have standards that we're supposed to be abiding by, and we do not have, planes of our own, like some players in the logistics industry. But at least these partnerships enable us to meet the service standard in a way that actually the customer is not disadvantaged, or we do not have dissatisfied customers. So we are really trying our best to be able to do that. And even when we talk about e-commerce, as long as we have that web presence, we know that people will start buying from our platforms, and we should be able to deliver merchandise, because that's a promise that we've given the Zambian people, to wherever that a customer has bought from.
Okay, that's very good. You said so
Yeah.
many good things about examples. I mean, I love what I'm hearing, but it's not possible that you don't have challenges. And I know that we have our people watching. Some people might be working in Postmaster, another country. What are your challenges? What do you find difficult to scale? Or what are you working on that you feel if only we can solve this, we can have a better service?
To begin with, I think I'm going to mention something that I alluded to. We are dealing with a cultural shift. So it's issues of mindset, because we still have people that
Yay!
I know the issues of mindset excite you, but really it's about, first of all, getting an entire workforce to believe that this is the possibility and this is the new
Hmm.
Zampost, and we have no choice but to do this. And this is not an easy undertaking. So there's a lot of capacity building that is taking place. There's a lot of training that we are having. I remember having a discussion with Dr. Roland that I'll be calling on you, because we need to sort of have this mindset shift so that people realize that customer is king. The days when people depended on the post office are long gone. It's now the post office that depends on the customer. This is why we transform to meet customer needs. So the biggest challenge is mindset. The other challenge is the fact that during the period before the light bulb moment of realization that we need to transform, a lot of debt has been incurred and the financials have not been okay. So we have these legacy issues that we have to deal with. And some of those have, of course, tempered and made our service delivery not to be optimum. But these are not insurmountable challenges. When you scale this technology, and when we have uptake on, and people begin to come to the post office, and we begin to grow the revenue base, these are issues that we are going to sort out easily. So the biggest is mindset. The next issues that have to do with financials will be sorted out as we shift our mindset and give a superior service and convince stakeholders that indeed we're up to the task. Then everything else sorts itself out. So for me, it begins with mindset, one head at a time. Whenever I have a chance to meet an employee, a frontliner, even riders, there's normally one question that I always ask. So if you were to ask of me, where do you see us going? If you were to just ask anything from me that is work related, I just want to tap into their thinking. And I always stress the fact that some people are already switched on, to be quite honest. Some people are already seeing the vision and running with it and saying, I think that there's hope. So once you have these change agents in every place, at every angle, saying, you guys, we can do this. We need this is, um, this is what is going to make us stay relevant. We need to change. We need to do this. That is a fire that is spreading, and everybody is catching it. And before you know it, would have created a culture that will be able to deliver this transformation that we're talking about.
Awesome. So if we
Yeah.
have this conversation in the next 5 years, what would examples look like?
So for me, in the next 5 years, it's a leading last mile provider for e-commerce. It's the platform for government and financial service delivery. It's a digitally integrated postal and logistics network. It's commercially sustainable to an extent that we go to an AGM to our shareholders and declare a dividend. That is the Zampost that we see in the next 5 years.
Okay. So while I was presenting in Cape Verde, I remember I was because my thoughts around postal service. I feel that government has a lot of share in postal service. So I want to ask, how much are you integrating government bodies into your processes? You mentioned that the major issue is between government and postal services, that clarity. They don't they don't succumb to your petty crime. You have to be clear enough. What is the relevance of making sure that members of parliament are involved in what you do for maximum support? I'm asking this because of other postal master that might be on this live session.
So the way I look at it, right? So members of parliament, each one of them. So at the moment we have 150 members of parliament. Each one of them has
Wow.
a constituency where they need to deliver value, right?
Yeah.
So when the post office within that constituency operates as this center for digital transformation, center for financial inclusion, it's not actually about us going to sit down the member of parliament and say, look, we are relevant because this is what we're doing. It's the people in the communities that will become the ambassadors for the post
Hmm.
office. And I can assure you, because of this drive and what we are doing and the visibility that we've been able to drive in the last 6 months, we've had one, two members of parliament saying, you know what, I think I need a post office. I need another post office because the one post office is not sufficient. So we're beginning to create conversations around relevance of the post office and the need to have the post office nearer to the people because of the relevance and the strategic position that we are doing. So we may not have gone to parliament and gotten to a stage where we're addressing everybody and saying, oh no, this is what we are doing. But we strongly believe that the customer is the biggest ambassador for the post office. If the MP, the member of parliament, goes back to where they are saving and he finds there's a frenzy about how the post office is helping the people there, bingo, that's all you need. Then he'll pay attention. So if we then begin to lobby for finances to say we need to upgrade this infrastructure, because I'll be honest, there are post offices that I'm presiding over where the infrastructure needs a facelift. Because when you look at the technology that is being deployed and the face of the post office, it's night and day. So you cannot just thrive on technology itself. Even the way the outlook of the post offices needs to be worked on. So this is where we need to work together with government, with members of parliament to say, look, your people are missing out because when they look at their building, they don't see hope. But if we work together and improve this infrastructure, guess what? They'll be able to go in their seat, surf the internet, and unlock opportunities for themselves. So for me, this is the way the conversation must go. So it's really
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
sensitization as well as the MPs seeing their need, the need for their people, the people that they serve, so that they know that this is actually infrastructure that is here to make my work easy, to make me a likable MP. Because remember, we're a democratic nation and we are going to elections every other 5 years. So why not use the post office as that point that is going to make you shine because your people can now access all this area of services almost like at their fingertips because the post office is very near to them.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I like the perspective you came from, and that's very, very powerful. So you mentioned training the other time. Perhaps I have just two more questions to ask, and I'll let you go. I know there are several post offices in Zambia, and you are presiding over all of them. Your office will only be in one location per time. How are you making sure that, because when you mention mindset, I can relate with it very well because I also train people and I know how it's hard to help people to change their mindset, especially if they've been doing it for years. How are you making sure that at the end of the day, or you are carrying everybody along in the process of transformation? Because it's possible that where you are presiding, perhaps your state, the transformation is very high. But when we go to other states, other post offices, we, like you mentioned, that it's like night and day. Those people there, cannot boldly say that postal services, is improving until they come to where you are presiding. How are you making sure that everybody is being carried along? Is there a system of making sure that every post office is improving or transforming at the same level?
Yeah, so thanks to technology, we can still connect. I have been able to connect just over Zoom with the most remote post offices. Remember, because we have internet. So at least even over a call, there are certain post offices that I've been to physically, but some I haven't been to, but we've been able to connect and talk about the opportunities, talk about where we're driving Zampost, and really just saying we're in this together and this is my role. But I expect you as people in these communities to be able to start developing the markets and reaching out to the community and sensitizing and saying, we have this, do you sell something, can we transport your merchandise, can we help you have visibility to the rest of the country, to the rest of the world with what you're selling. So we are trying to carry everybody along. We have all hands on deck meetings. Sometimes we do specific postal area specific meetings because of the way we are widely spread. You will find that a post office in the southern part of the country could be thriving. The economy there thrives basically on, say, the beef value chain. You see, so you cannot take the same strategy when it comes to e-commerce and SME development. You cannot take the same strategy to the southern part of the country that has worked in the east, because what is driving the economy there is different. So the approach has been to challenge ourselves that, hey, guys in the southern province, how can we stimulate the market? Can we have those redundant spaces that were used as, mail sorting centers? Can we now get a partner to develop them into cold storage spaces so that every farmer, even if you have two cows and you want to sell some beef, you want to kill one and sell some beef, at least bring to the post office. Let's keep that for you, aggregate, and when it makes business sense to transport, we take it to market. So the whole issue really is sector specific development for each post office. We use the economy, and again, this is very much aligned with the pronouncements of the current government in Zambia, where they're saying each province must actually develop an economy.
Mm,
So all we have to do as Zampost is to position ourselves. Right now, there's a lot of discussion around the beef value chain, where we become exporters to our neighboring countries because we have very nice beef, Temi. When you travel, you must taste our T-bone and our beef. You'll love it. It's not as
wow.
tasteless as in other places.
Hey, hey,
So because
hey!
of listen, so because of that, there's a lot of demand for this beef. But instead of just letting that opportunity become an opportunity for commercial farmers and big, cattle ranchers, we want even that SME to participate. And so the post office as an aggregation point becomes a serious beacon of hope. Because now, instead of selling that farmer who was selling their beef or their animals at very low prices, they can take advantage of premium export prices by simply utilizing the opportunity that we're giving them by creating the post office as an aggregation point for export markets. So that is the way. So when you start engaging the different members of staff in the different areas to say, you're doing fish, how do we plug in? Okay, which crop is need to go to market from that side to Lusaka, for example. How can we have an incubation program? So all these initiatives, every other person in the post office then begins to feel relevant, because initially, when it was just a mail service, the people in the rural areas, because there's not so much mail coming from the rural areas to the urban centers as would, vice versa, they would be waiting to be just the ones to deliver the mail when it comes. But now, guess what? They have literally a specific activity, market development around this, sector specific initiatives that we're running with, to be able to participate and know that they too can contribute to the economy of the country, and also they can contribute to the transformation of samples. So this is where we just need to carry everyone along and make everybody realize that they have a chance at being that vibrant, employee once more, than thinking, than imagining what their fate is, given the fact that there's this huge, huge decline in traditional mail volumes.
Awesome, awesome. So, few things you mentioned that I think caught my attention. By the way, we have people that have been watching this for quite almost 1 hour now. If you have a specific question before we round up, you can quickly drop so that I can pick one or two. You mentioned some things that caught my attention, which is the fact that beyond examples delivering parcel or delivering packages, they are creating opportunities that people can plug into. That stands out for me because aside the normal parcel delivery, there are other things that can, it's like an ecosystem that is also providing job for
Yes.
citizens. And also the people that have been there before, they are not now looking useless. Or, in some government offices, people are sleeping. They sleep all day, and before you know it, they take their bags and go home. And it's the reality. But with this initiative, people can have hands-on activities. They can even sit down, brainstorm, and have how do we create an opportunity for our people? How do we make sure that we are always busy? With everything you have mentioned, I expect that every single person in post office should be busy because there's something to do. We are aligning with what is happening in the country. We are not just zoned into parcel delivery. Because that's when people hear post post office, all their mind goes to is letter, delivering letter to somebody. And because
And,
nobody
and
does
who
that
is
again,
writing a letter anyway? Yeah.
nobody's writing letter again. So we feel there is no need for them. But with all these initiatives, I can see that there are several, and this also speaks to how the postal service or the post office can generate income for ourselves. Instead of
Yeah.
depending solely on government to bring in money, we could do some things within the ecosystem and generate funds such that when we now ask for more funds, they can see that okay, you people already have some funds. It's just to have to and make it happen. I mean, thank you so much for this conversation. It has enlightened me also. I think I'm getting interested in postal service.
I love that.
Well,
This
this
is
is
a different Tammy from the one we had in Cape Verde.
so. Last question I will ask you: is there something you would have loved me to ask you that you would have loved to speak to? It could be anything general, or it could be an advice to people that are watching this session. Before we round up, kindly speak to that.
Yeah, so I think that I'll say two things. The first is that let's forget about the post office of old that was defined by the number of letters that it processed and it carried and it delivered. The Zampos to be imagined is a digital hub, logistics hub, as government is creating the infrastructure, digital public infrastructure. The post office is the digital arteries, you know. Let's go back to our heart in the circulatory system. So we are the arteries that are now going to drive that digital inclusion, that are now going to drive that financial inclusion. So the post office reimagined must be understood from the number of opportunities that it unlocks for the citizens and the businesses. I think this is, for me, this is my driving sort of mindset, that it's about unlocking opportunities and making opportunities equal for the person in the rural areas, for the person in the town who is selling. Let them not just think about their local market. Because we once used to take letters efficiently and effectively to the villages, we can now take the merchandise. So it's really about the growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that is
about it's
I
about
mean,
the
that's
growth.
that's the
It's
transformation. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So to be able to do that, we're going to ride on technology. we're going to innovate, and we're going to change our mindset. We're going to hold each other accountable because it's not business as usual. Transformation is not an easy process. So, if we want to see the change that we envisage, it's a lot of hard work. We are up to the task. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. Thank you so
It's
much.
been an hour, but it's been such an engaging interview. Thanks to you.
So much. I really appreciate it. I'll let you go now.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Take it for granted. One thing I will just ask of you, and I want you to give me an assurance, is that I want to have a number of people have this conversation with me, and I promise that you would have short clips go out. If you could help me, because I'll be in your DM. I reached out to some DJs. I guess they are very very busy, and I understand, but I will need you to those that you have close relationship. Those that you have close relationship, you can just nudge them and say, okay, have a session with this guy. You will not. It's an insightful session. I would love you to do that for me, and I would like to have your assurance even on this podcast before I end.
No, you can count on me, Temi. I'll be in everybody's DMs and say, "Oh, I had a session with him. It was lovely. It's not a waste of time." But I think for us leaders, it's an opportunity to just put word out there about what we are doing, the different initiatives. Let's give back hope to the communities again. The post office is not dead. To be honest, if there's a time when we needed to be relevant, it's actually now. So that we
Yeah.
bridge the gap that is being created by all this tech deployment, that is being created by the fast advancing digitization. So yeah, we're in this for a long haul, but more
Thank you
digital than
so much.
ever. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. All
yeah.
right. Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Have
much,
a blessed day.
Tammy.
Everybody that joined us, thank you so much for staying through. If you have not subscribed to this channel, looking at the fact that we'll be bringing more people on board, please subscribe and drop your comments. Have a blessed day. Thank you so much, Lydia.
Bye, Tammy. Thank you so much.